So we've got x equals, we'll do it again on this one, you can just pay attention. X equals negative square root of t and y equals t. Now, they tell us that they want t to be greater than or equal to 0. So first thing we want to do, plug it in our calculator, look at the graph. So I'm going to zoom in on the calculator so you guys can see it a little better. If I hit, this is going to be negative square root of t, okay, and then y equals t. Oh, that's pretty simple. Then I'm going to graph it. Now we got to go back and set the t, right? So we want t to be greater than 0. So I'm going to put my t minimum at 0, and we could crank this up to 10 or whatever. We'll crank it up to 100, and we'll hit graph.
Wait, 100 is the max?
Yep.
But I thought t had, oh, larger than 0.
Larger than 0.
Thank God it's Friday.
So now in this particular case, what does it look like we have?
Half of a parabola.
Half of a parabola. So now, in this scenario, it looks like, keep this in mind, it looks like y equals x squared. But part A wants to know the initial condition. The initial point and the terminal point. So let's graph this. And now watch when I hit graph. I'm going to come back in here to the window. Watch how it draws it on the calculator, because that'll show you the initial point and the terminal point. When I hit graph, watch what you see. Oh, we got to clear it out. So if I go to second catalog and I come down here,
wouldn't it not ever end? Is there not a terminal point? Because it just keeps on going?
well, how did it draw it? Did you watch it when I drew it?
Yes. Yeah.
It started at
0, 0.
0, 0. So, and it goes like this.
So is that the initial?
Yeah, so this would be my initial point. 0, 0. And then it doesn't really have a terminal point, right? Because it just goes to infinity. What is the path of the curve?
Negative.
No,
That way.
it's this way, right? It's like, which is the exact opposite of what we did last
So
time.
do we just draw an arrow to define the path?
Well, yes and no. We want to, this helps us to get the formal answer, right? The textbook isn't required that you draw the arrow. I'm drawing the arrow for you so you can understand where this thing starts, where it ends, and the path of the curve. Okay? But that is not the formal answer. The formal answer for A, it says, what is the initial and terminal points? Well, we only have one initial point, which is 0, 0. And we know that by looking at how the graph is drawn on the calculator. We could also look at that too by going to the table and notice that there is an error and we don't get values until t equals 0. Okay? So x and y are not defined until t equals 0. Okay? And then for part B it says, what is the Cartesian equation? So now again, we think that this is the Cartesian equation. So because it's a parabola. So if I take x squared, in other words, if I take x is equal to negative the square root of t, and I square this side, and I square this side. Oh, we gotta include the minus sign though, right? I get x is equal to t, right?
Why wouldn't it be negative 2?
Well, because when you have negative square root of t times negative square root of t, it just becomes a positive t. Right? So t equals x squared. Now if we take this and we say that y equals t, well, what's another variation of t? X squared. So if I substitute in the x squared for t, I get y is equal to x squared. Now here's the question, the formal answer that we're able to establish by drawing the line and watching it graph. The second part says, what portion of the graph of the Cartesian equation is traced by the parametric curve? The left half, right? So this is only going to do the left half of the parabola. And I shouldn't say that it's formal, but this is really what they're asking you. Okay? It's not the full parabolic curve, right? Y equals x squared comes down this way and goes this way.
You just call it negative x positive 1.
You could say quadrant 2.
Oh, quadrant.
You could say it that way.
Do the quadrants go counterclockwise?
Could we go this way? It's
No,
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's the quadrants go 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay?
This helps